Well, a couple of stocks are in focus this afternoon. Some of these auto ancillary names like Motherson, Sumi, etc. are making a bit of a comeback, so don't lose sight of that. Otherwise, there's really nothing much happening in the market. It's a very, very quiet day, just consolidating the gains that we saw over the last two trading sessions. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi will formally launch the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi scheme from Gorakhpur on the 24th of February. Sources tell CNBC TV18 that 1.2 crore farmers have, in terms of the beneficiary list, the list for 1.2 crore farmers is ready. Manisha Gupta joins in now with exclusive details on all of that. Manisha?
Well, thank you so much for that. Yes, there have been some rumors on what is the first tranche going to be and when. So we cleared that out clearly. 1.2 crore farmers is the number that is on the first beneficiary list. The first tranche of the direct payment to the farmers would begin on 24th of Feb. PM is doing that on a farmers conclave in Gorakhpur on 24th of Feb. What we also understand is that other states are still uploading the list. There are verifications going on. So it's not just the uploading or identifying what are the farmers that actually fall in the category where the land holding is less than 2 acres. It also is about verification of that. So there have been some instances. We understand that the first round itself rejected some 2 million farmers where the land holding details or the data did not match. The banking accounts or the Aadhaar details did not match. So that verification also is happening and is taking time. The understanding is that the beginning of this disbursement of amount begins on 24th of Feb, and the government would then have the whole of March. The deadline is 31st of March. That is when the 12 crore farmers will get their first tranche of 2,000 rupees coming into their accounts directly. So clearly, government really looking at farmers as a sector. Remember, there have been various protests and demands continuing from the farmers, and UP being chosen as a state to begin this also is something that's not going unnoticed.
All right. Thanks, Manisha, for that. Hopefully some relief coming in for the farmers there. Anisha Jain, our colleague, is here with us with all the stocks that are really making headlines today. Anisha, over to you.
Oh, well, yes, Nisha, the index might be flat, but beneath the surface, a lot of stocks are moving around. Take a look at GVK, which is seeing a double-digit growth after unverified reports suggest that Adani Group might be looking at picking up around 23.5% stake in the Mumbai airport business. Now, remember, this stake is currently held by some South African entities, and given the valuations, GVK is also excited. Moving on to some defense names, because the Aero India Summit is on in Bengaluru, and a lot of MOUs have been signed on account of that. So, case in point being Bharat Electronics, BEML, as well as Dynamatic Technologies are moving higher on account of that. Also keep an eye out on the ADHG group of stocks, because whether it's Reliance Nippon, Capital, Communications, Infra, you pick up any of these, all of these stocks are moving higher. We of course have been pointing out how at Reliance Nippon there might be an open offer if the Japanese counterpartner picks up some stake. Some of the buzzing stocks, especially from the renewable space, Suzlon has been gaining pace. In fact, we have been seeing double-digit gain on the stock for quite a few days now. Inox Wind is also higher, and Motherson, Sumi and TVS Electronics, as you have been pointing out, are also moving higher. Some of these oil marketing companies like IOC, BPCL, HPCL are also trading with gains anywhere between 3 to 5%. Back to you guys.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. So those are all the stocks that are buzzing in trade this afternoon. But moving on, India is the largest market for legal disputes, and an upcoming concept of litigation funding is slowly emerging to help the claimants fight their case without thinking about the legal costs. Listen to the conversation that Nisha had with a global leader in litigation funding and corporate lawyer Cyril Shroff about its prospects in India.
Litigation funding enables claimants in disputes to mitigate their cost risk. The funder pays for all of the costs of the disputes, including any legal fees, disbursements and court costs, meaning that the claimants don't have to. So what the litigation funding is doing is enabling claims to be brought that otherwise may not be. The only exposure the claimants may have to any costs if their claim is funded is if there is an eventual damages recovery from which the funder would seek a return on their investment and the initial investment they have made. If the claim loses, the funder will have been paid for all of the costs of the claim, and the claimant would have no cost, risk or exposure to bear.
Is it legal here?
Our Civil Procedure Code has been amended in many states to allow it. I think the Supreme Court has recognized it as well in at least twice. It's recognized in arbitration as well. So I think we're going to see this. And there have actually been some small beginnings that have been made by some crowdfunding outfits as well. So I think it's already here, let's say below the radar. I think you will see it more mainstream soon as this conversation picks up.
Have we had any example of remittance by way of legal litigation funding?
You touch a very important point. I think it's the Foreign Exchange Management Act issue, particularly for its offshore funding into India for litigation, that there is some grey around it. But it's possible to use for cross-border arbitrations, and there are still many uses of it.